from Quebec, from Atlantic Canada, from Western Canada. Yes. That's what we're not standing for, and Mr. Speaker, that's the primary reason we're opposing this bill.
The honourable member will have 7 minutes and 32 seconds remaining when we return after a question period, when we return to debate or questions and comments. Statements by members, déclaration des députés. The honourable member for Ottawa West Nepean.
Monsieur le Président, samedi.
Mr. Speaker, last Saturday I had the pleasure of participating in the festivities to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the Public Library of Carlingwood. The libraries open new possibilities for people. When I was 12 years old, I started working at my local library. That exposure to books and to knowledge was something that led me to being here today.
Area schools, Carlingwood Library and Carlingwood Community Health Centre partnered and created the SWAG program. Students will all graduate to strengthen literacy and to enhance community engagement within libraries. Working with vulnerable teens, grades 9 to 11, SWAG has a success rate of 95%. I would like to congratulate all those involved in this project and once again wish the Carlingwood Library a very happy 50th anniversary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Elgin, Middlesex, London.
Across our beautiful country, the leaves are changing to bright colours, the fields are being harvested, the pumpkins are ready for carving. It can only mean one thing: fair time. Fall is a time of year when families young and old attend their local fairs. Baking contests, carnival rides, quilt making, livestock presentations, agricultural displays, and my favourite, deep-fried Mars bars. But most importantly, it's about family. Volunteers across Canada spend their entire year planning the next event so families like mine and yours can experience the smells, sounds, and flavours that each one of these fairs offers. Throughout Elgin, Middlesex, London, many of these local fairs are even older than Canada. This weekend in Dorchester, I'll be wrapping up my fall fair tour. I've enjoyed the fairs in many of our communities, including Shedden, Rodney, Wallacestown, Thorndale, and Elmer. Please take the time and let your family experience what fall fairs are all about. It'll be a memory they will cherish forever. And finally, happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
The honourable member for Sydney, Victoria.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today about a very proud moment that happened in Cape Breton last weekend. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon at Open Hearth Park in Sydney, many Cape Bretoners gathered, along with 9 other communities across Canada, to raise 128 flags, which represent 128,000 brave Canadian soldiers that have sacrificed their lives for peace and democracy around the world. Students from Brooklyn Elementary kicked off the ceremony with the singing of O Canada. Also in attendance was the family and Silver Cross mother of the Place Bay soldier, Sergeant Jimmy McNeil, who was killed in Afghanistan 2 years ago. Each flag was donated by individuals and companies throughout the island. Mr. Speaker, this wonderful ceremony would not have taken place without the hard work of Nita Kumar Britton, Alan Cameron, and their team who worked tirelessly to arrange it. These flags will stay up till November 12th, and the day after Remembrance Day, and their rising will be an annual event. I encourage all communities across the country to fly the flags of remembrance to honour those who made the ultimate sacrifice.
The honourable member for Hamilton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, last month in my riding of Hamilton Centre, a tragedy was averted thanks to the quick action of some of Hamilton's newest residents. On the evening of September 14th, a man approached the Ibrahim Jam-e Mosque and lit a fire at the front door. As the man fled, several passer-by, Syrian refugees new to Canada, were able to put out the fire and help police identify the suspect. Thanks to these quick actions, the damage to the building was minimal and a would-be arsonist was arrested. Mr. Speaker, as my dear friend Jack Layton said in his final letter to Canadians, love is better than hate. There is no place in Hamilton for the kind of hate that causes someone to try and burn down a mosque. And we must do our best to combat Islamophobia in all its forms. I've been encouraged by the outpouring of support for the Ibrahim Jam-e Mosque from all across Hamilton, and it is my sincere hope that this event will only serve to make our community more united and more respectful of people of all faiths and backgrounds. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To celebrate Women's History Month, I set out to highlight a particular Canadian woman. However, as I started to research, I found that the list of women in Canada is perhaps shorter than it should be. There's no question that throughout Canada's history, there have been many women who have accomplished incredible things. Canadian women have fought to be heard. They've stood their ground at great personal cost, triumphed in the face of adversity, and thus shaped the fabric of our nation. Mais beaucoup de ces femmes.
But many of these women remain nameless. Their stories are invisible.
Everyone, this Women's History Month, to look around you and ensure that a great woman in your midst has her story told. Célébrez la contribution qu'elle a faite.
Celebrate her contribution. Encourage Canadian women to make a difference. Inspire girls to follow that path.
Its eyes on us. Let's ensure there are more Canadian.
Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
Mr. Speaker, today I rise to honour the memory of Don Green of Brockville, Ontario, who died September 29th at 86 years of age. Born in Toronto, the RMC graduate helped his father-in-law, Harrison Russell, grow United Maple Products into one of the largest maple syrup producers in Canada. He partnered with Robert Braz and grew Menu Foods into the largest private label wet pet food producer in the world. Knowing that he was blessed by his successes, his philanthropy touched people around the globe, from local investments such as the Brockville YMCA pool to numerous projects at the local hospital to the SOS Children's Village in Namibia. His contributions would fill a book. The Don and Shirley Green Family Charitable Foundation, named with his wife of 60 years, ensures his contributions will continue. Mr. Green will be remembered as humble and grateful and a friend to all. On behalf of everyone he touched, I express my condolences to his wife Shirley, his children, his grandchildren, and step-grandchildren.
The Honourable Member for St. Maurice Champlain. Mr. Speaker, a young Atikamekw man from the Wemitoshi community in Haute-Mauricie recently did something noble and courageous that deserves to be recognized and celebrated. Miguel Coco Kachai ran from Odanak to Quebec City to raise awareness about murdered and missing Indigenous women. From September 20th to 23rd, he traveled more than 170 kilometers. Mr. Speaker, that's more than 42 kilometers, or the equivalent of a marathon every day. Miguel took over from Brad Frith, nicknamed Caribou Legs, who was injured during his race as he ran from one ocean to the other in Canada for this very important cause. He left Vancouver in May. He is currently in New Brunswick, and he is expected to arrive in St. John's, Newfoundland in November. To conclude, Mr. Speaker, as I said, this is an action that deserves to be greatly celebrated. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Thunder Bay, Rainy River.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to acknowledge the youth and educators across Thunder Bay, Rainy River, and indeed the country who have returned to school this past month. I've had many opportunities to meet with students since the election and have been inspired by their desire to engage in the political process. Just a few weeks ago, I was honored to participate in a youth roundtable with students such as Little Robbie Parsons and the Minister of Democratic Institutions. They asked some tough questions and expressed a desire to see a fair and inclusive Canada. I want to thank these students like Carter, for pushing us to be better, for sharing their perspective, and for reminding us that we all have an important job to do. I encourage the youth in my riding, youth such as those I spoke to last week at Rainy River High School, and those across the country to join local youth councils, and I look forward to working with you all in the future. Merci, miigwech.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week, the Liberals showed their true colours. They're putting an end to regional development agencies, and they are basically cutting ties with the regions. This government is abandoning jobs in the regions, particularly in the softwood lumber industry, because there's no one in this government who is still aware that all of these workers risk losing their jobs. There's not much time. There are only 5 days before this agreement expires. And all the minister will say is that the agreement has been expired for a year. Well, that's 1 year. That's 365 Days. How many hours and minutes is that? All of this time has been lost by the government who's trying to please the U.S. rather than working for Canadian forestry workers. On behalf of all of the families in my region, all across Quebec and Abitibi, Cariboo, Prince George, and all regions of Canada, I implore the Minister of International Trade to start this work right now to protect our jobs, families, communities, and regions who expect much more from this Liberal government.
The honourable member for Central Nova.
Mr. Speaker, I have the pleasure of serving on the Standing Committee for the Status of Women, and I want to invite all Canadians to celebrate the International Day of the Girl on October 11th. Each year on this special day, we celebrate the hope and inspiration that girls and young women represent for our families, communities, and country. Cette journée, c'est vous.
This day is also a way of drawing attention to the needs of girls across the world who often face violence and poverty, or who are denied access to education and health care. Let's make the International Day of the Girl a day of action, both in Canada and in the entire world, in order to eliminate these persistent inequalities that exist between girls and boys in all areas of their lives. On October 11th, I encourage all Canadians to find ways of supporting and celebrating girls and young women. Thank you.
The honourable member for Edmonton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, despite tough economic times, my home city of Edmonton continues to enjoy modest growth. Edmontonians are resilient people. We know how to cut loose with everything from the Street Performers Festival to the Jazz Fest, the Works Art Festival, and the stunning Tour of Alberta. Edmonton is a place of risk takers, where we happily wrap ourselves in rainbows for the Pride Parade, proudly don head coverings for the Vaisakhi Sikh March, and gleefully globble up food from around the world during our Multicultural Heritage Festival. Edmonton's renaissance is unfolding with transformative investments, including the new Valley Line LRT, our state-of-the-art Royal Alberta Museum, and Rogers Place, the new home to our Edmonton Oilers. Located on Treaty 6 territory and home to one of the largest populations of Indigenous peoples in Canada, Edmonton is actively engaged in reconciliation, Mr. Speaker. I invite you and all Canadians to come and visit Alberta's revitalizing capital city. Happy Thanksgiving to you all.
The honourable member for Peace River Westlock.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 60% of the surfaces in this historic chamber are made out of wood from Canada's forests. From our books to our homes to the very air we breathe, Canada's forests are an important renewable resource for everyone. Canada's forestry workers are firmly rooted in our economy, generating $21 billion from 400,000 jobs throughout rural Canada. Yet political logjams like the Softwood Lumber Agreement continue to sap the economic growth in my riding and across Canada. It's time for the Liberals to stop lumbering around and get the job done. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal carbon tax is not popular with rural Canadians either. This tax will whittle away every rural Canadian's paycheck and leave forestry workers pining for better days. This government should spruce up its efforts on job creation instead of imposing a new tax. I'm on a limb here, but if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, will the Liberals find a way to tax that too?
The honourable member for Parkdale, Hyde Park.
Mr. Speaker, for almost 150 years, immigration has been the story of Canada. Like millions of Canadians from coast to coast to coast, I was not born in this country. I came here as a refugee from Uganda, fleeing the persecution my family and I faced in our country of birth, simply because of our race and our ancestry. Today, I am proud and indeed thankful that my new country, Canada, the country I call home, is respected for its multiculturalism, acceptance of newcomers, and openness to the world. Mr. Speaker, regardless of your skin color, your gender identity, your sexual orientation, the religion you practice, or where you were born, Canada's strength always lies in the diversity of its people. Monsieur le Président, la semaine prochaine...
Mr. Speaker, next week is Citizenship Week in Canada. Let's celebrate being Canadian. I encourage all Canadians to attend a citizenship ceremony next week, to reaffirm their citizenship and share the experience on social media with the hashtag MyCitizenship or Citizenship Week.
Continue to write the Canada story for the next 150 years, Mr. Speaker, together. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. The honourable member for Hochelaga. Mr. Speaker, 68% of drug users, injectable drug users and users of inhalants in Montreal are affected by hepatitis C, and HIV rates are as high as ever. The organization known as Dopamine is one of the only groups that works with drug users in my riding. Having worked with them for years, I can tell you that their professionalism and their importance to our community are undeniable. I learned this week that the Public Health Agency of Canada recently cut $200,000 from their budget. This was money they were using to help some of the most marginalized people in my riding fight against HIV and hepatitis C. Dopamine had been receiving funding from the agency since 2009, and it is not the only organization to have suffered cuts. This decision will undoubtedly have a major impact on an already critical situation. Perhaps the experts making the decisions at the agency should leave their offices and come see what's happening in Hochelaga.
Member for Carleton.
What will the new carbon tax do to the gap between rich and poor? Well, from whom will the money come, and to whom will it go? The carbon tax will apply to heat, gas, and groceries. Poor households spend a third more of their income on those items than do rich households. So the tax will make those with the least pay proportionally the most. To whom will it go? The Prime Minister says it will fund provincial green energy programs. In Ontario, millionaire green energy insiders overcharged hydro customers by $37 billion, forcing many to the food bank. Never has a program taken from so many to give so much to so few. Elsewhere, the CBC reported, quote, the Ontario government gave taxpayer-funded rebates to 5 millionaires to buy one of the most expensive cars ever manufactured, the Porsche 918 Spyder. No surprise, big government always benefits the well-lawyered, the well-lobbied for, and the well-off. The best way to fight poverty is for the government to stop fighting the poor.
Here, here.
The Honourable Member for Bourassa. Mr. Speaker, it is with great sadness that I rise to state that this morning the latest natural disaster to hit Haiti has now caused at least 478 deaths. My thoughts go out to my brothers and sisters in Haiti who were affected by the hurricane and to their families, whether they live in Canada or Haiti. It is true that Hurricane Matthew hit several Caribbean countries, but the situation in Haiti is truly catastrophic. Sadly, more than 1 million people have been affected, and there was also significant damage caused to already fragile houses and infrastructure. The Canadian government has reacted by offering emergency humanitarian assistance and by deploying its disaster assessment team. Let us continue this important work, because Haiti needs our help.
Merci.
Thank you.
Oral questions, question orale. The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday Alison Azar was in Ottawa. For 14 months she's been fighting to bring her children home. They were kidnapped and taken to Iran. Shockingly, when the member for St. Albert Edmonton raised this issue, the Minister of Foreign Affairs made inappropriate and unparliamentary gestures. Will the Minister apologize? Ms. Azar expects that. But more importantly, when will the Liberals have the courage to do what it takes to bring these children home?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I am sorry that some interpreted it to be directed at Madame Azar. It was obviously not the case. I have nothing but compassion for Madame Azar and cannot imagine the anguish she must be going through. I'm disappointed in how the opposition is politicizing this heartbreaking situation. This is not helpful to Madame Azar and her children. Instead, we must work all together, all of us, to bring our children home, and I am always open to constructive ways on how to do this.
Thanks. The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, as much as we appreciate that apology, there does seem to be a pattern amongst the Liberals by dismissing legitimate concerns and criticism, and we are concerned with that pattern. We're seeing it when it comes to issues like the carbon tax. There are Canadians that are extremely concerned about the additional taxes and the burden that they will have to bear. Right. We know that gas prices are going to skyrocket. We know that the price on food is going to skyrocket. And Canadians are expressing concern about this. They've seen what's happened in Ontario. They're seeing what's happening in Alberta. And instead of giving heed to these legitimate concerns, the Liberals are dismissing concerns. When will the Liberals stop?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the party opposite is so concerned about middle class, I'm wondering why they didn't support our middle class tax cut, or why they didn't support the Canada Child Benefit enhancement for 9 out of 10 families. But let's be clear about the price on carbon pollution. BC has given their carbon price back to individuals, to families, and to small businesses as a tax cut. That is up to the provinces to decide to do. But we're going to take action that show that we can grow our economy in a clean way while protecting our environment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
But Mr. Speaker, the problem is the Liberals have not shown a shred of evidence that this carbon tax will do anything to reduce emissions in Canada, much less globally. So why won't the Liberals just admit this actually has nothing to do with fighting climate change and has everything to do with filling their coffers for their reckless spending? If they have evidence that it will reduce emissions in Canada or globally, we want to see it.
Well said. The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very sorry that the party opposite doesn't believe that we should be taking action to tackle climate change. They didn't vote for the Paris Agreement when the critic actually joined me. But actually, let's point out where it does, where the evidence does show it has an impact. In British Columbia, they brought in a price on pollution, and what did they do? They reduced emissions while growing their economy. And that's why the Conservative critic has said that the BC did the right thing.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint-Laurent. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in May 2015, the Conservative government established targets to deal with greenhouse gas emissions. And these targets are exactly the same as the ones contained in the Paris Agreement. That's why we support the Paris Agreement. However, we disagree with the Liberal approach to impose a new tax. A tax, a word used by the Prime Minister, and that's not the good approach. The Canadian Taxpayers Federation has confirmed that it will cost Canadian families several $1,000s more per year. The question is simple, therefore. Does the government have a figure? Can the government tell us how much this new tax will cost Canadian families? The Honourable Minister of the Environment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My colleague opposite said that he supports the Paris Agreement. We saw a few days ago, however, that he didn't support the Paris Agreement because he didn't vote for it. They don't have a plan. We have a plan that will help us to deal with climate change and that will grow our economy, because we know that the environment and the economy go hand in hand.
Before going to the next question, I just want to remind everyone that I'm having a hard time hearing, and nobody wants to upset the Speaker. So if you don't mind, maybe just keep it down. And if you've got some questions, maybe some follow-up, you might want to take it after in the lobby or outside of the House. But in the meantime, you know, screaming across the floor isn't going to help things. The
Honourable Member for Louis Saint-Laurent. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I agree with you, but what is said in this House must be right and accurate. We are in favour of Paris, but not with the way the government's taking action. Mr. Speaker, the government is imposing a $10 a tonne floor price. Now, we know what a floor price is. It's carved in stone, but there's no ceiling. The sky is the limit. This tax will go up, and that's reality, Mr. Speaker. So I'll ask my question again, and I hope we'll get an answer. How much will this cost Canadian families? How much will your Liberal tax cost Canadians? The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm really confused. I don't understand how my colleague opposite can say that the Conservative Party supports the Paris Agreement. They voted against it. We know that the economy and the environment go hand in hand. That is why putting a price on carbon is what we did. There are already 85% of Canadians under this a type of system like this, including Quebec, and Quebec supports our position because we work together with the provinces and the territories to be serious, to grow our economy, a clean economy, and we must.
For Edmonton, Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal platform said in black and white, quote, "We will end Canada's combat mission in Iraq," end of quotes. Canadians were told that instead our troops would just be training local forces. But yesterday, Brigadier General Daw said that there's less need for training and troops are increasingly on the front line engaging directly with the enemy. Canadians were told this would be a training mission. Has the mission changed?
Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the question. The mission in Iraq was always an advise and assist, and it continues to be an advise and assist mission. With the evolving situation there, as you work with the local force, it allows for the local troops to be able to take the fight to Daesh, and that's exactly what we're doing. And our troops are doing a wonderful job. And I just met with the special envoy from the U.S. on the counter ISIL, and he complimented on our work, and we will continue to work with our coalition partners to have a continued impact against Daesh. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Well, Mr. Speaker, an interesting response, but not an answer to my question. Exactly. The Brigadier General has just revealed, in quotes, the mission has changed since the spring, end quotes. We're told the mission has moved from defensive to offensive. And after promising increased transparency, the Liberals won't tell us how often our troops come under fire and how many are on the ground in Iraq. Does the minister believe that Canadians have a right to know about the increasing risk to our soldiers in Iraq?
Great question.
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, in dealing with conflict and an enemy like this, the situation obviously is going to change, and we adjust with it to making sure that we are effective coalition partners. In terms of transparency, we've been extremely open with it, and hence the reason why we actually did this technical brief, and who better to be able to brief on what the mission is going than our generals. I've always been open to providing information to Canadians, and I will always continue to do so. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable député.
The honourable member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagotte. The Brigadier General confirmed that Canadian troops are in contact with Daesh combatants, but they don't want to tell us how often. Our armed forces continue to participate in airstrikes, but we don't know how often. We've been told that the situation today is more dangerous and more complex, and that it will in fact take years to defeat Daesh. How long do the Liberals plan to keep our forces involved in this new mission, which is more risky and underway on the front lines?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, in terms of the numbers of times the attacks happen, we're not going to be giving regular updates on this because there's an operational security risk to it. When you start giving certain metrics to the enemy, it allows to create a pattern, and the protection of our troops is the utmost security. However, in terms of the evolving mission, we have been keeping Canadians up to date. I've always stated that we will always assess every single year how the mission is going and make adjustments so that we can continue to have the appropriate impact. And we are having a considerable impact, Mr. Speaker, and that's exactly what our government said we were going to do, and that's exactly what we're achieving. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagotte. Mr. Speaker, Canadians are entitled to be informed. Canadians have been told that our troops are at greater risk. But contrary to what the Liberals promised during the elections, our soldiers are spending less and less time in the classroom and more time on the front lines. Is the government refusing to disclose this information because it's trying to hide the fact that Canadian forces are participating in combat on a more frequent basis?
Mr. Speaker, I've been very clear from the onset of the complexity of conflict like this. And advise and assist requires us to be effective on the ground, to be able to train the folks, to be able to mentor them, help them on operations. That's exactly what we're doing. We're going to be adjusting the missions accordingly to making sure that we have the appropriate impact. And I've always stated that we have to train the right number of troops on the ground if we're going to take the fight to Daesh. And that's exactly what we've accomplished. And we're having a massive impact. And we got tremendous compliments from the special envoy on counter ISIL from the U.S. And we will always continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with them.
The honourable member for Carleton.
According to Stats Canada, poor households spend a third more of their incomes on heat, gas, and groceries than do rich households. So a carbon tax that raises the price of those goods will take a relatively larger bite out of the incomes of the poor than of the rich, which is the very definition of regressive. Why is the Prime Minister imposing a regressive tax that will force those with the least to suffer the most?
The Honourable Minister for the Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the member opposite and the party opposite is so concerned about the middle class, I'm wondering why they didn't support our middle class tax cut, why they didn't support the enhancement to the Canada Child Benefit, which now helps 9 out of 10 Canadian families, raising over 300,000 children out of poverty. But let's be clear about the pricing pollution. This money, any revenue raised from pricing pollution, will remain in the province. So provinces can do like British Columbia has done, growing its economy while returning revenues in the form of tax cuts to small businesses and to families. This is the way we are moving forward to grow our economy and to protect the environment. I wish the other party would join us.
The honourable member for Carleton.
The minister is right. It will stay with provincial governments to fund so-called green programs like in Ontario, where millionaire green energy insiders have overcharged hydro customers by $37 billion, forcing many into the food bank. Or to quote the CBC, the government of Ontario gave taxpayer-funded rebates to 5 millionaires to buy one of the most expensive cars ever manufactured, the Porsche 918 Spyder. So now, the working guy filling up his Ford Focus will pay an 11-cent a litre tax to fund green handouts to Porsche-driving millionaires. Why?
The Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Speaker, I always find it surprising that the party opposite would be against a market measure that's supported by businesses across Canada. Let me get this straight. So we now have Canadian companies like Suncor and Shell, job creators that are supporting putting a price on pollution.
I'm sure the honourable minister appreciates the coaching she's getting from the opposite benches, but it's making it very difficult for the rest of us to hear. If we can just keep it quiet while the answers are going, it would certainly be appreciated. The honourable minister.
So let me get this straight. The member opposite is criticizing companies that are actually supporting put a price on pollution. These companies created 900,000 jobs and $400 billion in revenue, and they get it. The environment and the economy go together, that we need to reduce emissions while moving to a clean growth economy.
The honourable member for Lévis-Lotbinière.
Is that?
Mr. Speaker, as someone who became a new grandfather just a few hours ago, I understand more than ever before how worried the thousands of Canadian families are, given the negative consequences that this carbon tax will have on the market basket and all goods. I'm thinking about groceries, transportation, heating, and everything that will go up. Mr. Speaker, is the Liberal government aware of the negative consequences of the carbon tax for young Canadian families in the middle class? The Honourable Minister of the Environment. I want to start by congratulating my colleague opposite on becoming a grandfather. As a mother of 3 children, I know that we need to grow our economy. It must be clean growth. We need to deal with climate change, and that is what we're doing. We are putting a price on carbon because it's a solution being used by the market in order to reduce emissions, but also to grow a cleaner economy. So it's for these grandchildren, for our grandchildren, his new grandchild, and my children we're doing this. The honourable member. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal government is dipping into the pockets of young families with both hands with this carbon tax. The new tax, imposed in such a cavalier manner, will wipe out all financial breathing room for our future. In other words, our children and grandchildren. Mr. Speaker, how can this Liberal government claim that its carbon tax, which has been imposed for ideological reasons, will have no consequence for the future generations and their economic prosperity? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In my portfolio, I always think about future generations, and that is why we must have a cleaner economy, why we need good jobs, why we need to protect the environment. That is what we are doing. I'd like to quote the Quebec Premier, who said, "We believe that it's a good thing to put a price on carbon that will not affect the functioning of our system, and it will move everyone in the same direction on a path to fight these emissions." And I hope that...
For Flamborough-Glanbrook.
Mr. Speaker, all week the Liberals have been trying to portray themselves as Robin Hood in their own carbon tax forest, all the while acting like the Sheriff of Nottingham, shaking down Canadians to build their own kingdom. It's no fairy tale that the cost of everything will go up under the Prime Minister's plan, Mr. Speaker. For my constituents, the commute to Kitchener-Waterloo or into the GTA, or a flight out of Hamilton Airport, or simply putting fuel in a tractor will cost them more. When will the Liberals come clean about their motives to the Canadian people? Even Friar Tuck and Maid Marian would like to know.
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member opposite for his question. I was actually born in Hamilton, so I know that area very well. But I'd just like to be clear that this is about growing the economy and it's about protecting our environment. And unfortunately, the party opposite does not understand that that is the direction we need to go. That provinces are entitled to determine what system works for them, what to do with the revenues. And we have the support of business, job creators, because they understand this is the way we're going to grow our economy, we're going to create good jobs, and we're going to create export opportunities for Canadian businesses to create more wealth for the middle class.
The Honourable Member for Brandon Souris.
According to a recent report, Canadians are now spending more on taxes than they are on food, clothing and shelter. Combined, Mr. Speaker, I worry about seniors living on fixed incomes in my constituency, whether they're from Brandon, Melita, Pilot Mound, who cannot afford any more taxes. They can't afford increased grocery or gas bills. So will the Liberals commit today that their carbon tax won't take one more nickel out of the pockets of seniors living on fixed incomes?
Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the member opposite was so concerned about seniors living on fixed incomes, then they should have supported reducing the age of old age security to 65. We also brought in a tax cut for the middle class. We have brought in an enhanced Canada Child benefit. But let's be clear, the revenues from any price on pollution go back to the provinces. The provinces could do what BC is doing tax cuts for families and also giving money back to small businesses.
The Honourable Member for Courtenay Alberni.
We all make mistakes, Mr. Speaker. The responsible course of action is to apologize and to move on. Whether he intended it or not, the actions of the Minister of Foreign Affairs offended Alison Azar. Two questions for the Minister. Will he give a clear apology to Ms. Azar? And will he update this House on the efforts to secure the safe return of the 4 Azar children?
The Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I feel certainly sorry that what I have done yesterday was interpreted as directed at Madame Azar, because obviously it was not the case. I'm encouraging all colleagues to not politicize these very difficult issues, to work all together to see in which way, by constructive propositions, we may bring these kids in the arm of their mother. This is the only goal the Prime Minister has, and I have, and the whole government has, and I hope each member of this House, we must work together to solve this problem.
Excellent.
L'honorable député d'Abitibi.
The Honourable Member for Abitibi, Bay James, Nunavik, EU. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The government committed to make education for First Nations children a priority. The Department of Indigenous Affairs had even given the minister a plan so that her government could deliver the goods, but she chose to ignore the recommendations. I asked the minister to justify her decision without getting an answer, so I'll try again today. Can the minister explain why she chose to ignore a plan, and why is she continuing to say something here and something different elsewhere? The Honourable Minister of Indigenous Affairs. Mr. Speaker, First Nations children deserve the best start to life, and that requires adequate funding for education. Budget 2016 contains $3.6 million over the next few years for education from kindergarten to grade 12, including a significant amount to implement reforms to education for First Nations.
Le député de Beauport, Côte-de-Beaupré, Île-d'Orléans, Charlevoix.
Monsieur le Président. The Honourable Member. Mr. Speaker, during the election campaign, the Prime Minister said imposing on provinces taxes to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions makes no sense. It's up to them to find a solution that responds or meets the province problems in their provinces. But now we see the government, the Liberal government, imposing a tax on the provinces, it will cost middle-class families more. So, Mr. Speaker, why do the Liberals, once again, want to dip into the pockets of Canadian families, middle-class Canadian families? The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Merci, Monsieur le...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will say this again in French. I'm surprised that that party has concerns about the middle class because they didn't support our tax cuts for the middle class. We are working with the provinces and territories. I will again quote the Premier of Quebec, Mr. Couillard, who said, "We think that this is a good idea. It will not affect the operations of our cap-and-change system, and it will make everyone move in the same direction. We will move on to fight climate change together."
Tim Manning.
Decided to reduce greenhouse gases by increasing taxes on Canadians. This will raise the price of gasoline at the pumps by 11 cents a litre and cost middle-class Canadian families thousands of dollars annually. Can the Environment Minister tell this House when her department calculated exactly how many jobs will be lost as a part of the Liberals' rash scheme to impose a carbon tax on Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The reason we're putting a price on emissions and on pollution is because we want to grow our economy. That's why we have job creators, major energy companies, the 5 big banks, consumer companies saying actually do this because this will help reduce emissions and innovate. And innovation is a good thing. I hope the member opposite believes that because innovation is necessary so that we position ourselves well to have clean solutions which we can then export and grow our economy.
The Honourable Member for Elgin, Middlesex, London.
Mr. Speaker, on Wednesday, the President of the Treasury Board claimed that he had never been lobbied by the McCain family. We now know that this isn't true. In fact, the minister met with Michael McCain in March, and the meeting was registered with the Commissioner of Lobbying. Mr. Speaker, why did the Liberal minister mislead Canadians?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Treasury Board.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our government takes our guidance on these matters from the Ethics Commissioner and the Lobbying Commissioners. The President of the Treasury Board proactively approached the Commissioner's office to disclose his situation and his holdings, which have been placed in a blind trust. The Commissioner decides whether a conflict of interest screen is necessary, and based on the fact of the President's case and situation, she decided against a screen.
The Honourable Member for Elgin, Middlesex, London.
Mr. Speaker, the Commissioner decides based on the information they are provided. I just want to note that. True. So this is absolutely just another Liberal coming up with what's ethics. It was this meeting with his close friend, what he just called a social meeting, just to let you know. And then why was it registered with a lobbyist, or as a lobbying, if it was just a social meeting? When will this Liberal minister stop misleading Canadians and admit that there is a problem with ethics here?
Absolutely. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the President of the Treasury Board.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And our government takes guidance from the commissioners, the Ethics Commissioner, and not from the Conservative Party of Canada. So the President of the Treasury Board has proactively disclosed his situation to the Commissioner, and he has followed her guidance. All of his holdings have been placed in a blind trust, and the Commissioner has decided it is not necessary to have an ethics screen in this situation. And I will point out that the person in question has publicly said that no lobbying was done during that meeting.
The Honourable Member for South Okanagan, West Kootenay. No, the Honourable South Okanagan, West Kootenay. I have a wrong, sorry. My mistake. The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquinongé, my excuse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since the Liberals have been in power, they've done nothing concrete when it comes to diafiltered milk. And what's worse, the Minister of Agriculture has admitted that the ingredient strategy between producers and the dairy industry isn't enough. After consulting with producers and industry for a year now, the minister is still apparently looking for solutions. That's scandalous, Mr. Speaker. A simple question: will the government respect the cheese competition standards today? Yes or no? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Agriculture. Mr. Speaker, let me say, as a dairy producer, I am proud that Canada can count on such a dynamic and strong dairy sector. We have always said, and we will repeat it now, Mr. Speaker, supply management is very important to our agriculture, and we take it to heart on this side of the House. Mr. Speaker, unlike others who wish to abolish supply management, we support Canadian supply management, we support dairy producers and their families, and we support the entire Canadian dairy industry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for South Okanagan, West Kootenay.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. In less than a week, the softwood lumber agreement grace period will run out. And this could mean massive export tariffs on Canadian lumber, anywhere from 25 to 30%. If we don't get a new agreement, we could lose up to 22,000 jobs in British Columbia and across Canada. Yet the minister has refused to give any assurances this week. As the deadline looms, what is this government doing to protect forestry jobs in British Columbia?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of International Trade.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the honourable member for his question. We are working hard on this file. Our negotiators are working hard on this file. On Tuesday in Toronto, the minister participated in a productive conversation with USTR Michael Froman, as well as Canadian industry representatives, including representatives from British Columbia, but also from the rest of the country. We continue to work closely with lumber producers, workers, provinces, territories, in close collaboration with them as we advance this file. Any agreement has to reflect the realities of every region across the country, Mr. Speaker, so we're looking for an agreement, but not just any agreement.
The Honourable Member for Laval-Les-Îles. Mr. Speaker, Hurricane Matthew is the strongest hurricane to hit the Caribbean in decades. This natural disaster has killed over 500 people in Haiti. There are complete cities that have been destroyed, and we still don't know what has happened in remote, isolated communities. Can the Minister of National Defence please inform this House of Canada's efforts to rapidly bring aid to victims of Hurricane Matthew in Haiti and across the region? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the member for his question. Canadians are saddened and concerned by the devastation and loss suffered by our friends in Haiti and in other countries in the region. Our government has sent a Canadian disaster assessment team to Haiti, comprised of 3 experts from Global Affairs and 3 officers from the Canadian Armed Forces, and they will rapidly assess the situation. In the interim, we have committed $3 million as an initial humanitarian response. Mr. Speaker, we stand ready with my colleague from International Development to respond quickly and effectively for those who are in the need of immediate assistance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, yesterday we learned that the Canadian Forces mission in Iraq is very different from how it was described by the government. Our troops aren't training anymore. Instead, they're accompanying Kurdish forces to the front lines. Brigadier General Daw yesterday confirmed that our soldiers have exchanged fire with ISIL forces. Mr. Speaker, we support our troops on the ground in Iraq, but we want to know why the Minister of Defence hid from Canadians that the mission had changed.
Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, the only thing that has changed in the mission that we're far more effective. With the changes that were made to the mission, everything that has been accomplished has been done with the advise and assist mandate. For the protection of our troops, we provided the appropriate rules of engagement and the appropriate equipment to protect our troops as well. It's a dangerous situation when our troops are under threat. They do need to respond to protect themselves, their colleagues, and the people who are there working with. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Barrie-Innisfil.
Well, what's interesting, Mr. Speaker, is we're hearing a new buzzword from the Minister of Defence called advise and assist. Does that mean combat, yes or no? But yesterday, we heard from military leaders that confirmed Canadian soldiers are spending more time on the front lines and engaging in more firefights with ISIS. But on this, the Liberals have been silent. Conservatives will always recognize the right of our soldiers to defend themselves. And the fact is, Mr. Speaker, that Conservatives held regular technical briefings and informed this House of the actions of our troops, but that's not happening under the Liberals. Mr. Speaker, will the Liberals finally admit they're withholding information because what's actually happening in Iraq is counter to the Liberal peacekeeping agenda?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, from the previous government when they were in power, having briefings for the sake of political gains. That's what was happening. I have been extremely transparent for giving information. I provide briefings to my counterparts on a regular basis. Actually, before we make announcements, I will not give up information that provide information to the enemy. I've been very open. Hence the reason why we have the technical briefing in the first place. And any other future changes to the missions, I'm happy to provide greater information and make myself available for my colleagues to answer any questions that they might have. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for St. Albert, Edmonton.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Minister of Foreign Affairs gave a thumbs down when I called on the government to make the return of the Azar children a priority. The minister came close today to apologizing, but yesterday he doubled down by deploying a Liberal insider to criticize Alison Azar for daring to speak up for the return of her children. So, will the minister give a clear apology to Alison Azar, and secondly, apologize for deploying a Liberal insider to criticize Alison Azar's efforts?
The Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, it is imperative in order to resolve heartbreaking cases as a family that all colleagues in this House work together. But the opposition is free to instead politicize this issue in an unhelpful way, as my colleague did yesterday. Now that they know how I feel about harmful politicization, I will come back to my usual impeccable parliamentary behavior, and again I will say, my door is open. Let us all work together to reunite this family.
Excellent. The honourable member for St. Albert, Edmonton.
Mr. Speaker, it's certainly interesting that the minister would say that, because it certainly wasn't the Liberal approach with the case of Mohamed Fahmy. But needless to say, the Minister of Foreign Affairs didn't answer the question that was posed by the honourable member for Courtenay Alberni to provide this House and all Canadians with an update on the status of the Azar children. Will he do so now?
The honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I will not certainly reveal information that will hurt the case. I have no other goal than to bring these children with their mother. I'm only saying that in order to succeed, we need to work all together and to avoid to politicize this issue. And if the opposition has concrete suggestions to make how to bring these children out of Iran, my door is open, the door of my parliamentary secretary is open for constructive suggestions from any of our colleagues.
We were doing so well. I just want to remind the honourable members that when someone's speaking, that some of us may want to listen, and screaming across the floor just doesn't lend well to that. The honourable member for Saskatoon West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This government has acknowledged that pay equity is a fundamental human right. So why are they asking Canadian women to wait another 2 years? Enough is enough. The previous Liberal government shelved pay equity legislation in 2005. Women should not have to wait until 2018 for this Liberal government to do the right thing. They have everything they need to introduce pay equity legislation now. What are you waiting for?
The Honourable Minister of Employment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm proud to inform the House that we have a government that actually will implement proactive pay equity legislation, not like the government previous and not like the opposition that wishes it could. This is a government that's actually going to do it.
The honourable member for Hochelaga. Mr. Speaker, in a video seen around the world, little Brooke Blair, 5 years old, got really angry with the British Prime Minister because she doesn't understand why people are living on the streets and nothing is being done.
Be out there. You should be building houses, dit-elle dans son cri.
It's a cry from the heart. Even a 5-year-old can understand that if you build more homes, there will be fewer homeless on the streets. The best investment is in social housing. What is the minister waiting for to announce long-term funding for social housing? The Honourable Minister of Families. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to sincerely thank my colleague for giving me the opportunity to say that just this morning, a few hours ago, I had a very good meeting with major players in the social housing sector. We've had a very productive discussion, which adds to many discussions that I've had the privilege of having in recent months. We are looking forward to working with the community to ensure that all Canadians have decent, affordable housing.
Member for Yorkton Melville.
Mr. Speaker, the Mayor of Hudson Bay, Alvina Rumack, said the impending closure of the Paw Softwood Lumber Mill will impact contractors in Saskatchewan who harvest softwood for Carrot River and hardwood for Hudson Bay. Mal Cadron, GM Hudson Bay Timberland, said clearly if the mill in the Paw closes, it will put pressure on us to utilize small-diameter softwood, which will increase our raw material costs and reduce mill productivity. Mr. Speaker, this means fewer jobs. Why is the current sitting Liberal government taking so long to get this badly needed agreement done?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the Honourable Member for her question. I share her concern for the softwood industry in northern Saskatchewan and indeed across the country, Mr. Speaker. We understand how important this industry is across the whole of the country. We understand its complexity across the whole of the country. All this has been incorporated into our negotiating position, Mr. Speaker. We are working hard in collaboration with everyone in the industry, and we're working hard with our American friends to try to reach a solution to this problem, Mr. Speaker, that will benefit the Canadian softwood.
The Honourable Member for Yellowhead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The clock is ticking. In Alberta, the forest industry employs over 19,000 people, which majority are in my riding of Yellowhead. My constituents and the forest industry deserve to know what their future will be. Right. Albertans can't afford another drastic hit. There's no time to waste. Too many jobs are at stake. Why won't the minister do her job and ensure stability and predictability for Canadian forestry workers?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for the Minister of International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, I reject the assumption of the honourable member's question. The minister has been working very hard since she came into office, Mr. Speaker, to resolve this issue. Indeed, Premier Christy Clark of British Columbia said, Mr. Speaker, I've got to give her, the minister, credit. She's worked day and night to try to resolve this. It's been her central focus for the last several months. Mr. Speaker, nobody is working harder on this file than the Minister for International Trade. Our negotiators are working hard. We understand its importance, and we will do our best to get a good deal done.
The Honourable Member for Caribou, Prince George.
Well, look who just woke up. In 2006, the Conservative government brought confidence and consistency to a divided forestry industry, and through ongoing talks with our counterparts and forestry stakeholders, we set the stage for the Liberal government to finalize a new softwood lumber agreement. Unfortunately, the Trade Minister has only just realized that trade deals don't magically negotiate themselves. When will the Trade Minister tell the almost 400,000 forestry workers that their jobs are on the line because she's mismanaged this file since the very beginning?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of International Trade.
Speaker, I thank the honourable member for his question. I'd like to remind him that he himself said on the 18th of August, I can appreciate that there's been a considerable amount of work done to this point by both Global Affairs and the Minister. He was indeed speaking the truth at that point, Mr. Speaker. The Minister has worked very hard on this file from the beginning. We understand its importance to British Columbia and to the member's riding, as well as to other ridings across Canada. We'll get a deal done, Mr. Speaker, and we will do it if it's in the best interests of Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Kingston and the Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Parental and maternal leave are essential for Canadian families, but our government can do better to adapt to the new realities facing families. Can the Minister of Families, Children and Social Development please tell this House what he's doing to advance this important issue? The Honourable Minister of Families, Children and Social Development. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank our colleague from Kingston and the Islands for his excellent French and for the excellent work that he is doing in his riding and to improve this file. Our government has committed to support parents through a more flexible and inclusive parental leave program. Yesterday, I had the opportunity and privilege to announce the beginning of consultations on this file. We are looking forward to hearing from all Canadian families to ensure that the EI program is useful for them when they need it most. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Beauport-Limoilou. Mr. Speaker, of the roughly 150 people who attended a Veterans Summit this week, 1/4 had never served in the Canadian Forces, and about half do not benefit from programs or services from the Veterans Affairs Department. Must I remind the Minister that the goal of this summit is to improve the Department's services and not to serve the objectives of the Liberal government? Mr. Speaker, if the Minister is asking veterans to be patient because he can't target the most pressing problems, I would ask him then, Mr. Speaker, why isn't he consulting the veterans themselves who are the most affected?
Well, Minister of Employment for Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for his question, but since I've come into this position on November 4th, we've had 3 stakeholder summits with over 150 people in attendance at all of these summits where various veterans from all groups, all walks of life, have contributed meaningful and deeply to policy developments from the range of economic security to families to mental health and physical well-being. These stakeholder summits are going well and will continue to engage and consult veterans from coast to coast to coast.
The Honourable Member for Miramichi Grand Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The striped bass population has gone from a species of concern to a high-level count never seen before in the Miramichi watershed. Given that striped bass is a predatory fish to the salmon and other species, and that the salmon is at an all-time low in the river, ma question est la suivante.
My question is as follows. Can the Minister please inform the House if the striped bass management plan for the next season will include, first, an increased allocation for First Nations to meet their food and ceremonial needs, and possibly, 2, to also increase public recreational fishing limits, which have been low for the last 2 seasons? Thank you. The Honourable Minister of Fisheries.
Question, but more importantly, Mr. Speaker, for the important work he's done on this issue that's so important to his community. I share his concern with the increasing abundance of striped bass populations. I've instructed the Department of Fisheries and Oceans to update the science, so I hope we'll be in a position next year to further extend management measures which will allow greater retention of this fish. We know how important it is for the Atlantic salmon population, and I look forward to working with him and other colleagues on this important issue.
The Honourable Member for Peace River Westlock.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, child and adult victims of sex trafficking are being sold daily on Backpage.com. In June, I raised this horrific issue in this chamber and wrote directly to the Justice Minister with no response. Yesterday, the CEO of Backpage was arrested in the U.S. on sex trafficking charges. When will the Liberals finally take action to end Backpage.com sex trafficking ads in Canada?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member opposite for raising this important issue. This government takes very, very seriously the issue of sex trafficking in our country. We are working very carefully with the provinces and territories and with law enforcement partners across the country to address this very important issue. There's also a very significant role to play for various non-government organizations to which we are also assisting in order to respond, and we are examining the issue that he raises very carefully.
The Honourable Member for La Pointe de l'Île. Mr. Speaker, yesterday in Montreal, the International Civil Aviation Organization concluded an agreement for cleaner aviation. At the same time, the federal government is still refusing to support the development of the greenest airplane in the world, the Bombardier C-Series. Once again, the Liberals are speaking out of both sides of their mouth when it comes to the environment and when it comes to supporting Quebec's economy. When will the federal government stop hurting the Quebec economy, and when will it invest in Bombardier? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Innovation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to thank my honourable colleague for his question. Certainly, the Canadian government is a major supporter of the aerospace industry. It's an industry that gives us a great deal of wealth in Canada. $28 billion, over 200,000 good jobs, and certainly discussions continue with Bombardier. Those discussions are ongoing. We want to come to an agreement with Bombardier, and we need to work to ensure that we will maintain good jobs, maintain research and development in Montreal. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for La Pointe de l'Île. Mr. Speaker, the federal government is cutting the health transfer increase in half. The minister says that the health system doesn't need any more money. Well, I don't think that she's gone and tested that talking point in hospital waiting rooms in Quebec, because she would have heard very clearly that Quebecers see things very differently. The Liberals are keeping the Conservative cuts of billions of dollars with, as a bonus, the NDP's conditions. Can the minister explain to Quebecers how this benefits them?
The
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Canadians are proud of their publicly funded healthcare system, and they expect their governments to ensure that it is always available to them. Next year, the Canada Health Transfer will grow by more than $1 billion to over $37 billion. And the Minister of Health will be meeting with her provincial and territorial counterparts in the coming weeks, and we look forward to our continued discussion on how we can create a healthcare system that all Canadians can be proud of. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, still nothing for softwood lumber, nothing for Lac Mégantic, nothing for diafiltered milk, nothing for Bombardier, nothing for Quebecers. The Liberals are keeping the Harper cuts to health care, and the Liberals are keeping Harper's environmental targets. For Quebec, it's clear. This fall, the government is getting it all wrong. Are the 40 Liberal MPs from Quebec trying to prove yet again that no matter who's in power in Ottawa, Quebec always gets the short straw? Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister... which one?
Il y a deux qui vont répondre, c'est lequel qui...
Of the two? Okay. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Innovation. Mr. Speaker, our government is certainly made up of a very strong class of MPs from Quebec, 40 MPs who are there to work for innovation in the country, to ensure that all Quebecers benefit from prosperity along with all Canadians. Mr. Speaker, I am proud to be one member of the Quebec caucus, and we have nothing to learn from the Bloc Québécois. We will ensure that Quebec takes its full place in Canada and in Canada's prosperity. Thank you.
That ends question period for the day. I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving when you head home with your families. Tabling of documents. Monsieur Dubourg, Secrétaire
Mr. Dubourg, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of National Revenue.
J'ai l'honneur en vertu.
I have the honor, under Standing Order 32.2, to table in both official languages a document entitled Annual Report of the Office of the Taxpayers Ombudsman, 2015-2016. Thank you.
Tabling of documents. Ms. Alisev, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Services and Procurement.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to the Section 150 of the Financial Administration Act, I have the honour to present in both official languages of the Defence Construction Canada 2015-2016 Annual Report on Operations and the Canada Lands Company Limited 2015-2016 Annual Report on Operations. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Introduction of government bills. Statements by members. Statements by ministers. Reports